The following has been developed by state and provincial agencies in association with the Agency for Instructional Television. Together, serving education. What's all that?
I'm trying to convince my parents to let me have a moped.
Okay, but again I ask you, what's all that?
Well, I thought I'd collect a little information on mopeds first to help me do a better job in convincing them.
A little information, huh? That's quite a stack.
Oh, this isn't all of it. I've got a pickup truck full outside.
What?
You wouldn't believe all the information there is on mopeds.
Yeah, but do you think information on how a centrifugal clutch works is going to help convince your parents?
Gee, I never thought of that. You know, I bet there are one or two things here that I don't really need.
You mean like how to remove bugs from the windshield of your moped? Well, look at it this way. If you spend all of your time collecting everything that's ever been written about mopeds, you won't have any time to buy one.
Well, I could save a lot of money that way.
So cute.
Now, I don't know, but I would guess that there is at least a pickup truck full of information on something like mopeds. The question is exactly what information will be most useful in convincing the parents. A good way to figure this out is to break down a topic, why I should own a moped, for example, into smaller pieces. Perhaps the fuel economy of mopeds, the cost of maintenance, insurance, safety. This begins to give you some direction. Now, this is very important, especially when you're faced with a task like composing a speech or writing a report. Unless you break down the topic into smaller subtopics, you might very easily go running off in all directions at once. You ever seen anyone do that? Go running off in all directions at once? Here are Scott and Joyce. They usually attack their school assignments with gusto. What are you two working on?
We're doing team reports. Scott and I teamed up for a report on Mexico. We have to give a 10-minute presentation in front of the class next Wednesday.
The theme is, Mexico is a country poised between past and future.
Ah, and what are you doing here?
Basically, we're looking up everything on Mexico.
He's just excited. Come on, let's go. I'll look up Mexico in the card catalog.
You might also look up Toltecs, Aztecs, Montezuma, Cortez, Maximilian, and everything else.
Speaking of history, California, New Mexico, and Texas used to be a part of Mexico. I'll look them up, too.
I'll check the periodicals first. Meet you back here in 45 minutes.
Make it an hour.
Right.
Now, as luck would have it, in this same library, working on the very same assignment, are Jeff and Sally Ann. How are you two doing?
Not so hot. Our report's on Panama.
The theme the teacher gave us is Panama is a country between.
Well, what do we do?
I don't even know where to start.
I just saw Scott whiz by. He and Joyce are gathering all kinds of information. I bet their report's going to be great.
Sure wish I could do a great report.
Well, I wish you could do a great report too, Guy.
I found a Latin reference on Mexico and the southwestern United States. The encyclopedia, topological surveys, census reports, the major industry, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, I found a couple of records. See? Travel the World in Song, and Spanish Made Easy. But
what?
Well, this is starting to look like an awful lot of stuff.
Well, Mexico is a big country, you know.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the interview.
What?
Rita spent 2 summers in Mexico. She knows a lot about the country.
Did you know that the Aztecs could have ruled the world?
We're up to our ears in Aztecs.
Well, I know how to make tortillas.
Hey, I have that in 3 magazine articles.
What?
From scratch?
Well, maybe. Let me see.
Do we really need that?
Well, they're awfully good with butter.
They sure are.
Yeah, but I mean,
Testing. Made a few notes. It all started when I visited my grandparents in Mexicali, proud descendants of ancient Aztecs.
And that's how you go running off in all directions at once. Now, Joyce and Scott's teacher had given them a direction with the theme, Mexico is a country poised between past and future. but they still needed to focus to develop a clearer picture of what they wanted to say. The thing to do is to break down that large topic into several smaller pieces. In other words, identify subtopics. Make a list of points to cover. Then, one by one, figure out what information is needed to cover those points. Now, it doesn't matter what it is that you're working on. Maybe a report, a speech, a story. Breaking it down will always help. And the longer your work is, the more important that breakdown becomes. This is Carl Smith. Among other things, he writes textbooks. In fact, you've probably used one or two of his books at one time or another.
People, especially my students, are fascinated with the idea that anyone can write a 450-page book. They often ask me, how can you start on page 1 and keep writing until you get to page 450? Well, I don't, or no writer starts that way without some sense of direction. They break down the topic or break down the book into small bits and do a little bit at a time. The first thing I do is to break down a book into what we call chapters. So I have the major headings outlined in front of me. And after that, each chapter is broken down into smaller parts. So within a chapter, I have small units. A breakdown of a book, to me, is something like following a map. A map enables us to take an extensive trip. We can go from Montreal to Los Angeles and know where we're going because we plan out that trip and follow the roads that are on the road map. Breaking down a book into its chapters and each chapter into subsections is very much like that map, because as a writer, I know what my next step is going to be and how to keep moving to the final objective. I know how to get there. If I didn't have that guide, I would get lost. Who knows where I would end up? It might not be where I had intended from the outset. By breaking down a book into smaller parts, and we're not just talking about chapters now, we're talking about segments of chapters, 4 or 5 pages. It isn't only the question that you've got something smaller to work with. It's the idea that your mind says, now I can handle the job. With only 4 or 5 pages to write today, I can get this done. Whereas if I said I've got to write 450 pages, it seems overwhelming.
You can see how breaking things down helps bring order and direction to the task of writing. It gives you an overview of the whole job. It also has a nice psychological benefit. A large assignment often seems difficult simply because it is large, but if you break it down into smaller pieces, it begins to look doable. Now, we saw what happened to Scott and Joyce, but they were not the only ones working in the library. Sally Ann and Jeff had a slightly different problem, though. They just couldn't seem to get started.
I don't know what to say about Panama.
Me either. But you know what?
What?
If we sigh one more time, we're gonna hyperventilate. Oh, come on, Jeff. Okay, Panama is a country between what?
Costa Rica and Colombia. A little geography humor.
No, but that's good. Do you have any 3x5 cards?
Sure.
And a felt tip pen.
Never without it.
Okay, Panama is a country between North America and South America. That makes it special right there.
I see what you're doing. What about the way they live down there? Remember, we talked about that in class.
You mean their culture?
Yeah, their lifestyle's in between. In some ways, they're like the people in the north, and in some ways, like the people in the south.
And economy. Just like Panama has been more agricultural in the past, maybe they'll be more industrial in the future. Okay, let's see what we have now.
We can make the point that Panama is a country between by talking about how it's between in its geography, between in its culture, and between in its economy.
And at last, we have some focus. And you thought this was going to be hard.
And breaking down the topic into subtopics is what gave them the focus. It also made the job seem easier. You can think of it as a large pizza. Do you eat a pizza all in one bite? Well, of course not. You cut it up into slices, like the subtopics of geography, economy, and culture. Now they can begin to develop those subtopics, gather the information they need. Well, tell you what, let's say an hour has passed.
I found these books on culture.
That's a lot of stuff. I don't think we need all that. But one thing's for sure. We need a little more info on the economy.
Well, I could check that out tomorrow, but what about geography?
Well, I have this book of maps, and I also have some slides. We can show these during the report.
And this brings us to the Mexican Revolution.
What's that?
It's supposed to be about how ancient spacemen built the pyramids outside Mexico City.
Baloney.
She's still dictating.
She's on the 3rd cassette.
Hi, guys. Hi, Rita.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, Sally.
Hi, Rita. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Sally. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Scott. Hi, Joyce.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, Sally.
Hi, Joyce. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Sally.
Forget it.
What's all this stuff for?
It's for the report on the Aztecs.
The report isn't on the Aztecs, Rita.
It isn't? Then why did I spend 35 minutes telling you their whole history?
This looks like some report, you guys.
What's your subject, anyways?
It's Mexico.
Mexico and the Aztecs.
Would you quit it with the Aztecs already?
Well, don't tell me it's gonna be Mexico and spacemen.
Spacemen? Really? How'd you wind up with a great subject like Mexican spacemen?
Aztecs.
Okay, Aztec spacemen. It's still great.
Come on, Jeff.
Oh, bye, Rita.
Bye, Jeff.
Bye, Scott.
Bye.
We did this already.
You know, I really don't think you should do this report on Aztec spacemen, Scott.
You know, I'm thinking about a breakdown.
You mean how we should have broken down the topic before we started?
No, I'm talking about a nervous breakdown.
I don't think he will, but I do think they'll have to start over again. Just like Jeff and Sally Ann, they can take their topic and break it down into several subtopics, maybe 3, 4, or 5. Then once they've done that, they can develop those subtopics one by one. Breaking down the topic will do several things. It will help give direction to what you're trying to do. It will give you a sort of guide to help you in collecting information. And because the larger topic is broken down into smaller subtopics, it won't seem nearly as difficult.
Basically, we're looking up everything on Mexico.
He's just excited. Come on, let's go.
Sure wish I could do a great report.
Well, I wish you could do a great report too, Guy.
Did you know that the Aztecs could have ruled the world?
We're up to our ears in Aztecs.
Well, I know how to make tortillas.
Do you have any 3x5 cards?
Sure.
And a felt tip pen.
Never without it.
It all started when I visited my grandparents in Mexicali, proud descendants of ancient Aztecs.
This series was produced by the Tom Eberhardt Company through the facilities of KRMA and KOCE TV under the supervision of the Agency for Instructional Television.